You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
But
no, I don't think that's such a big statement, because I brought that up last week about, is his bust being shined right now in Canton, especially if he goes ahead and goes to the Super Bowl, because once he goes to the Super Bowl, as he is now on his way, no matter what happens to him from this point forward, he's done as much success-wise as his brother Peyton, if not actually better, because he's been in less playoff appearances and has a better winning percentage in the postseason. He's a much better clutch player than Peyton.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. In defense of Peyton on that call, he's never had the surrounding cast that Eli's had. He's never had a defense, as dominant. He's never had, really good backs that can run the ball and control the game. I mean,
one second. Edgerrin James is not a good back. Joseph Adai is not a good back.
Is Edgerrin James good? Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? Neither is any of the Giant backs. But the point I'm making is, did he have the defense the Giants had in the years that the Giants went to the Super Bowl? He's never had that.
He had Mathis.
He's had a great.
He had Dwight Freeney.
He's had a great who?
Dwight Freeney.
Yeah,
Mathis.
Okay. I mean, Freeney's okay. He's not. I don't believe he was never in the league of a guy like Strahan, or anybody of that matter. I just think that Eli's standing on his own merit, and you know what? We should not compare them. We should just, each guy they're playing in a different conference. They're facing different teams every year, and Eli is finally getting the credit that he deserves. I mean, listen, they made everything out of Alex Smith this past week because of the catch. But it's one season. Eli's had a career already. He's had a Super Bowl win.
I think it was more like the grab as opposed to the catch, but nonetheless. I'm
understood. Well, they call it the catch. They said yesterday it was the catch squared. I mean, they can call it the grab. They can call it the catch. In any case,
I'm going to call it the tears.
Do you believe, Yossi, do you believe it makes a season? I mean,
no, definitely not. There's the way the sports fans' mind works is what just happened is everything.
Well, listen, it's what have you done for me lately?
Right. What did you do for me, just now? And
well, listen, if you want to get back and talk about the game, what do you feel was the biggest key to the game?
To which game?
To the Giant game.
The overtime second fumble was the biggest deal.
The biggest deal, right? But leading up to that, there was a lot of, did Bradshaw fumble? Was that a fumble?
His
forward progress was stopped.
Right. And also the fact that the 49ers DBs can't watch out for each other, that's also a big problem. They knock each other out quite literally.
I happen to think that something that goes overlooked was the fact that, they were 1 for 13 on
first downs. And they only got that first down at the end of the fourth quarter.
That's exactly right. I mean, the Giants had, they controlled the time of possession. They had almost double the amount of plays. It was an even game total yards. But in the end, it's amazing how the Giants just abandoned the run because they felt they couldn't run the ball. And yet, they almost ended up with they ended up with 85 yards, but 58 passes going into the game. If any quarterback throws 58 passes, you're thinking they're losing.
Indeed, and that's what usually happens, which is kind of why it was a shock that of course, these are now Giants postseason records, most completions and attempts, but you never would have thought, if you did not know the score, that with somebody who's throwing 58 times that he would turn out to be the victor. But I think also with this game, when you look at what happened with Kyle.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 Suspension and Bodyweight Training System. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel,
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
From the Epic Refinement Studios in downtown Jerusalem, it's Louis Live! Now your host, me, and Rafi G. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know we talked a lot of heavy political stuff in the green room, but it's about basketball right now. There's a lot of good basketball stuff. We have a huge show tonight. Before we get to tonight's show, we're still getting a lot of feedback from that Pete Rose interview, and I want to thank you on the air for setting that up. That was really great. And Pete Rose, I was thinking over, we've had a lot of big guests, Roy Jones Jr., Maury Stoudemire, Mr. Kraft of the Patriots, but probably our biggest guest, when we talk about worldwide fame, everyone knows him, he's a household name, even the rugby cricket guys who know nothing about American sports, even they knew who he was. So I'll call to you on that. And the Pete Rose interview, if you guys have not heard it, shame on you, but you can check it out on the website, IsraelSportsRadio.com. It is the second show on the front page of the site. First show is DJ VSA, which is our new show from South Africa, so check that out. And the second show is Louis Live, last night's episode. But tonight we have a great episode, huge guest, and like I mentioned on my Facebook, it is freezing outside. It's going to be 0 degrees tonight.
Yeah, we're looking at potential snow out there. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I haven't been out all day, so thank God for that. But I'm staying in. You all should stay in and listen to us because it's going to be worth it. We have a great show. We're going to have at 5:30, Svi Twersky. Now, we had him on last year, Jasmine Show, Jump Shot with Jasmine. He's from Slam Magazine. It's probably the biggest, would you say it's the biggest basketball magazine? It kind of has a street cred to it. Not exactly mainstream, but how would you describe Slam Magazine?
Yeah, it's one of those magazines known for profiling players before they get famous, and it's helped Anthony Davis from Kentucky this year, get his name out, and now he's potential player of the year in college basketball.
So they have this knowledge of guys, kind of a scouting thing. So if you want to learn about basketball and be in the know before everything gets out there, you want to read the magazine. And Steve will talk about some of his thoughts of the NBA season. LeBron's probably going to win the MVP. I don't know if he'd be unanimous, but we'll get to the All-Star game situation. Lucky for LeBron, All-Star games and exhibition and preseason don't affect his MVP status. His clutch questions come an issue again. I talked about this with Jim Williams, but the guy, I know he did some stuff in Cleveland in the clutch, but there's something off there.
Yeah, he's struggling. Last year he couldn't get it done against the Mavericks, and he kind of showed it again in the All-Star game, and he kind of have to feel bad for him because he always, every time he has his post-game interview, he just always shakes his head and says he doesn't know how it happened, but it happened, and he hopes he does better next time. But that shouldn't be acceptable from a franchise. Forget franchise, we're talking about one of the best players in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to feel bad for a guy making $100 million, but if you do feel bad for one guy making $100 million, it's him. Because he's a nice guy.
Right.
And he does the right things off the court. Like, I know he had a couple kids out of wedlock, but I think then he married her at the end. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't commit crimes. He doesn't hang out with shady people. There's some one guy they say lurks in the shadows is a little weird, but this guy's got millions and millions of dollars, and he's pretty much a good dude. I know that whole decision thing, people got upset at him.
That was kind of a mistake.
It was a mistake, but at the same time, from ESPN's perspective, you can't blame them because they got more ratings for that than a baseball game they would have aired that night instead. LeBron should have been, with an employer, he should have been just like anyone who works for a company or a boss to give like the proper 2 weeks notice to let him know, hey, I'm taking off. When you go into free agency, you might want to look for someone to replace me or in the draft, something like that. That part was not cool. But the whole promotion of it, I did not get upset at LeBron as other members of the media did with the whole decision thing, partly because I just thought it was funny and entertaining. And the best part, they had Jim Gray doing the decision.
Which was hilarious.
Jim Gray, he speaking of Pete Rose, there's that famous interview about 1999 or 2000? 2000 in Atlanta. They had the all-century team, Game 2 of the World Series, right before that. And Jim Gray asked him about, are you going to admit that you bet on baseball? I always thought, I would love to have Jim Gray on the show sometime and say, did you think he was going to say yes? Did you think, Jim, you're right. I'm going to admit it right here in front of national TV. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I did. No, it didn't go that way. Jim Gray's always causing problems.
You never know what to expect from Jim.
But the weird thing is there are two guys that are close with him, LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. Ever since Kobe got in the league, he's had a special relationship with Jim Gray. I don't get it because Jim, I'm a big boxing fan. Jim's caused a lot of problems outside of Pete Rose. He asked Tyson after he lost to Lennox Lewis, would you have liked to fight him in his would you have wished you could have fought him in his prime? Like a really rude question. He asked Evander Holyfield after he lost to John Ruiz, what was it like to lose to someone who would have been a sparring partner in your prime? And of course, there was, you're a big baseball fan, Jeffrey Mayer in 1996. He catches that home run ball from Derek Jeter. Really was going to be a pop-out. Tony Tarasco was going to catch it for the Orioles. He brings it in, affects the whole game because the Yankees win in extra innings. He's 13 years old at the time, and Jim Gray is grilling him like it's an episode of 60 Minutes.
Yeah, it's Jim Gray. Something weird about him.
He's a weird dude. He's a weird cat. But anyway, he did the decision with LeBron James. I know we're totally off topic, but it's okay. It's okay. But so LeBron, that part to me, actually, that was the part I was frustrated with the decision was the whole Jim Gray thing. Anyway, LeBron before the whole decision thing, loved guy, number one. Then he went to Public Enemy, number one, even though I disagree with that because I think there are worse guys in the league.
Definitely, yeah.
But as much as I want to defend LeBron for the decision, I can't defend the clutch stuff. I mean, it's just weird. He is the Alex Rodriguez of the NBA, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's not forget he donated I think it was over $2.5 million from the revenue that he got from the decision to the Boys and Girls Club. So
right.
He wasn't just trying to make money. I mean, you could call it a publicity stunt, but there was a good cause. So that's important to note.
I mean, you're talking about if you go through, let's just do this kind of for fun. We'll talk about some of the NBA players and compare to LeBron's actions. Kobe Bryant on trial for rape.
Right.
See, that would be worse than anything LeBron James did, including the decision.
No one talks about it to this day. It's kind of Lakerland forgets about that.
He paid off the girl. He paid her $20 million. And then everything just kind of forgot.
Disappeared, right. Yeah.
It disappeared. People forget about it, partly because you win 2 titles and MVP. People forget. They give forgive and forget. There was some
Gilbert Arenas.
Gilbert Arenas and the gun, waving around a gun over a poker game.
Yeah.
See, that would be worse than LeBron's decision.
Yeah.
There was an allegation that Shaquille O'Neal had a man kidnapped because he had some sex videotape of Shaq and someone else. And actually, right, so with the Crips or something, people don't talk about that. That's forgotten about. And even with the whole Kobe Bryant rape trial, he said in the interrogation process, he said, I should have paid off my women the way Shaq does. So, and these players are consistently cheating on their wives also. Just point that out, too.
Very true.
So,
and let's not forget how many of them have been charged with drug possession and drunk driving. The list continues.
Allen Iverson apparently kicked out his wife naked, had a gun charge in 2003, waving around a gun. So all these things are worse than, the decision. LeBron is pretty clean cut in general, especially compared to all of that. But it's just kind of the way it goes. Even with Alex Rodriguez now, yes, he did steroids, but before they found out about steroids, and if you assume he's clean, he got more hate than Barry Bonds. When Barry Bonds, arrogant, egotistical, and for sure was on steroids. A-Rod was confusing because he actually has a pretty big build. Anyone who's been in the locker room in Yankee Stadium, in the press room, has seen that he actually is very muscular, but he doesn't look like it with the shirt on. And he's been consistently the same size, probably because he cheated throughout his career, I assume. But he must have special steroids because generally with steroids you get injured, you cycle in and off. Barry Bonds, skinny as a twig.
Tiny in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, he won 3 MVPs and he was a great ball player before the steroids. But tiny, and then his head, his hat size.
Boom.
3.5 sizes. His head grew literally and figuratively. So his head exploded. And we all knew he did it.
Obviously.
It was pretty obvious. A-Rod, we weren't sure until we found out later around 2009 before that season.
And that's still, people, 3 years later, that's still not really talked about that much in the press, that A-Rod was,
that A-Rod cheated.
Yeah.
He won the World Series and with the Yankees, and people kind of let him go. And that was another thing that brought up with Pete Rose because, Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame because of something off the field. But he never cheated. And these guys that cheated, not only do they get money they don't deserve from these bigger contracts, but they get records. And I asked him, what do you think about that? And he said, well, he's not the guy to when I say he, I mean Pete Rose, because his record was never broken. The guy you got to ask is Maris if he was alive, right? Aaron doesn't want to talk about it. Bond stole that record from him. The guy, Cy Young-wise, Roger Clemens has 7. If Sandy Koufax, maybe how does he feel? Because Roger Clemens got 4 extra Cy Youngs after he took steroids and cheated. He would have had 3 with Sandy Koufax. And I'll tell you, I'm an Arizona guy. I love the Diamondbacks. I was a big fan of that 2001 World Series, but I'm pretty sure Randy Johnson cheated. Randy Johnson won 4 Cy Youngs in a row.
Yeah.
It was pretty weird.
It was weird, but he was always tall. He always had a big build. Even coming out of college, he was in Seattle. He always was big. So who knows?
It's possible. I hope not. Of the Diamondbacks team, if I would have to say one guy that cheated, it's Luis Gonzalez because he came out of nowhere and then he had 57 home runs in the 0-1 season and then kind of tailed off. 0-2 had a decent season, tailed off. Curt Schilling, though, and we'll have Curt Schilling on this program at some point because, thanks to you, because Pete Rose is a ceiling. Like
you can't go above Pete.
Can't go above Pete. So if you go to Curt Schilling, hey, I don't know, why should I be? Because we had Pete Rose, Curt, and Curt likes to talk anyway, so he'll be happy to come on. But Curt will tell you all these World Series titles have been tainted since the steroid era because they could say to him, hey, Curt, you won with the Red Sox, but Manny was on that team. Manny cheated, he was caught, and he'll just say, yeah, Manny cheated, but so did Jason Giambi of the Yankees. It's sort of Roger Clemens of the Yankees.
They're both. Jason Giambi played last year, and Manny just signed a new contract with the Oakland A's a couple of days ago.
Another thing, again, people forget about. So,
yeah.
Point of the whole
LeBron is okay. He's
Yeah,
a good
that's
guy.
the point of this entire 10-minute rant. If you get anything from it, LeBron is okay. Take a look and compare to other athletes. He's okay.
He really struggled last year with all the, he said he struggled looking in the mirror. He felt like a different person. You think about it, all he did was just, switch teams.
Right, and he did say something weird I didn't understand. He was talking about finishing his career with Cleveland.
Yeah, he said he might go back there after, but he said, Heat fans, don't worry because I'm here to win. But then it's kind of a strange interview, if you ask me.
That's a weird comment to say. He has, I think, 3 more years on this deal.
Yeah, he
it's
can
a weird
opt
comment.
out in 3 years.
And at that point, he would be, I think, 30, 31 years old. So he still could have...
Still in his prime.
Still in his
Look
prime.
At Kobe right now.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant...
Amazing year.
Kobe Bryant, amazing year.
We'll talk about him later, though, with Savi.
Yeah, if Kobe, his chances, he had the concussion, but his chances to win the MVP. The problem is the Lakers are the 6th seed, so it is hard to win the MVP from that place. You never know, though. So Kobe Bryant, 33 years old, still playing great. These guys, with all the technology and the medical staff, could play to their 40. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played till he was 40. So LeBron opts out his deal, let's say 30-31, has 9 or 10 years left of basketball to play. So he could go back to Cleveland and go to a lot of other teams. He still could go to the Knicks.
Would Cleveland accept him, though? That's the question.
Right.
Probably not, in my opinion. I don't think...
You think it's that bad?
I think he had that huge, 100-foot poster on the entrance of the city, and it was down the next day after the decision. So people burned his jerseys. It'd be kind of tough to get the fans back on your side, don't you think?
Yeah, unless the whole forgive and forget, if he came and won them a title, they would give him a pass. By the way, just go back to Kobe Bryant real quick. Even outside the whole rape allegations, he said, I want to be traded. The year before he won the MVP, it was the summer of 2007. He was upset at management for not getting him any help. He wanted to be traded. They were very close to trading actually him to Memphis, but the deal didn't go through at the end. He stays with the Lakers, wins the MVP, goes to the finals, then wins 2 titles, and like you said, they forgot all about it in Lakerland. So we'll get to all of that with Svi Twersky. Then we're going to have University of Memphis head basketball coach Josh Pastner. Now, Josh has a great story. You were telling me about this in the green room. As a young guy, a young kid, a teenager, was coaching athletes that would end up going to the NBA, and of course got that great Arizona connection with yours truly because he was on the staff that won in 1997 under Lute Olson, the Mike Bibby year, the Miles Simon year.
Player coach.
As a player coach. So I'll have to say thank you for that because that is U of A's only title. Lute Olson has this tradition, and the tournaments and all those appearances in the Final Four, and he's cranked out a lot of NBA guys. If you go in the NBA right now, probably 10 or 11 played at U of A. Jefferson, Bibby, Jason Terry of the Mavericks.
Hell, there's a lot of players.
They're all over the place. Great program.
Nick Wyatt, yeah.
But one title, and it was in 1997. And that was the year they had to beat 3 number 1 seeds to do it. Miles Simons was a junior that year. People forget about him because he didn't really make it. But Mike Bibby, also a star freshman that year, would play one more year, then go to the NBA as a number 2 pick. And so I've always liked Bibby. Bibby, I would say his career, when you consider he was a number 2 pick, somewhat of a disappointment because he didn't play like the number 2 pick, but kind of had a bad break with the Kings.
He had a good run with the Kings, those rivalries with the Lakers, with Vlade Divac.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
that was great.
That 02 series was one of the best series we've ever seen in basketball history. A lot of controversy to the refs, especially Game 6, because there were, I think 24 or 27 free throws in the fourth quarter of Game 6. About a game's worth in the fourth quarter. Really controversial. That was the whole referee scandal. Some say that was a fix. And I've watched the tape on that. There's a great YouTube video. It says the greatest tragedy in sports. It goes through a lot of plays. I wrote a whole blog about this, though, that said basically, even if it was fixed, Kings had Game 7 at home. They choked.
They should have won it.
Peja Stojakovic airballed a 3-pointer in the final minute of Game 7. No one wanted to take a shot except Mike Bibby. Bibby, ice in his veins, cool as a cucumber.
Always been like that from high school.
And had the other players had the heart, Bibby not the biggest guy, but they had his heart on the Kings, they would have won a couple of titles. Because after 02, they completely fell apart. It was a disaster. 03, they were knocked out by the Mavericks, and they just fell apart.
And now, they're at the bottom. They're at the cellar of the NBA. And though the good news is they just announced they were staying in Sacramento. Kevin Johnson, the mayor of the city, I believe Kevin Johnson.
Yes.
Kevin Johnson.
Mayor of Sacramento, former
Mayor,
Phoenix Sun, one
right.
of George H.W. Bush's 2,000 points of light back in
Yes.
91, I believe.
Help set it up, help get the agreement. The Maloof brothers were happy to stay in town.
See, because the Maloofs have been threatened for a long time to take them out. There were a lot of rumors of Vegas because the Maloofs
San
have a
Jose,
home there.
Right.
San Jose. Sacramento is not the biggest market, even though it's the capital of California, but they have great fans.
Amazing fans.
That arena is supposed to be the loudest in the NBA, and especially when they have a good team, that they have something to cheer about. So that...
They have some good young players, though, right now.
Yeah, I mean...
DeMarcus Cousins is on the rise.
Tyreek
Evans.
Tyreek Evans, and they, of course, had Omri before they traded him, shipped off to Cleveland.
Omri,
right. And we'll get to Omri later on. A great picture, as you talked about, with Gilad Shalit at the All-Star game, and we'll get to more of that. We actually, last night, broke the story. The Memphis Grizzlies were the ones who brought Gilad Shalit in to the All-Star game. A lot of controversy of how he got there exactly. The game was in Orlando. Was it the Magic franchise that did it? It was the Heat. But it was actually the Memphis Grizzlies. If you recall, a couple years ago, Omri Caspi famously shook the hand of an Iranian player of Memphis. So... and we do have some I didn't talk about this a lot last night, but we have some background info about that player. In front of the camera, smiled, shook Omri's hand, but we had an Israeli reporter that covered a lot of the teams, including Memphis, and he refused to talk to him. So behind the scenes, So I was surprised when I found out that Memphis took Gilad Shalit in. But the owner of the Grizzlies is a very nice guy, very supportive of Israel, and we have a good relationship with Chris Wallace, the GM of the Grizzlies. So that Iranian player, kind of a bad apple in the basket, if you will, but most of the people are very nice to Israel and, of course, Gilad Shalit.
Mm-hmm. Good player, though. Very solid player.
Yes. So we'll have Josh. We'll ask him kind of how he's making this run so quickly. You think he is one of the top coaches of the NBA? Excuse me. That was a Freudian slip of college.
Future NBA coach.
Future NBA coach. Josh is 28, 27?
34.
34, okay.
33, 34.
Okay, 33, 34. Still very, very young.
Been a head coach at the University of Memphis for 3 years now, and was assistant under Calipari and was an assistant under Lute Olson, as we talked about earlier.
And the general age for a top college coach is usually in their 50s, right?
Late 40s, 50s, 60s even. Sometimes you have to, play Division III, then maybe Division II, and finally you get an assistant coaching job. And, for 40s, 50s, 60s. So to have a really, this team was 3 years ago in the championship game, one shot away from winning the national championship with Kansas.
Right.
Guard.
The whole free throw situation.
Oh, Derrick Rose, my friend.
Well,
not good.
The free throws, because that was, in my opinion, the best team that year. They had the most talent, but they weren't able to get it done. So it goes. Now, then what we're going to do after we have on Josh, we're going to interview from ESPN college basketball writer Myron Metcalf. And Myron is we negotiated a deal that he will get a T-shirt for appearing on the program, because he was just kind of happy and delighted to be on a station in Israel.
Yeah, and he had to prove to his daughters that he wasn't making it up, from what he told us.
So we'll send him a nice T-shirt. And if anyone out there would like a T-shirt of their own, or give to a friend, Purim is coming up, Pesach is coming up, good gifts, you go to our store at IsraelSportsRadio.com and get a shirt just like ESPN college basketball writer Myron Metcalf will do as well.
And he will wear it to all the big games. You'll probably see him.
Probably see it on TV, and then if you have a shirt, you could say, hey, I have a shirt just like he does on TV. And Myron would probably show it to Chris Berman, who I think Chris's father is Jewish, I believe.
Yes.
So one or two Jews out in Connecticut in ESPN land.
Linda Cohen. Linda Cohen. Levy. We got some Jews there.
There's a couple. We had a gentleman also in the summer from ESPN. The name is escaping me, also Jewish, but Steve Berman. No, not Berman. All right, it'll come later. Ben Block set up. It's Ben Block's friend.
Okay.
But the Connecticut, in ESPN, what is the city where they broadcast from?
Bristol, Connecticut,
I
believe.
Bristol, okay. So Bristol, Connecticut, you're going to see a lot of people with these shirts, I think, if Myron can make this popular. So we're
counting on you, Myron.
Come on, Myron, pull through us, baby. All right, so here's what we're going to do right now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're then going to dial up Svi Tversky of Slam Magazine. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And stay tuned. If you want to get involved with the program, you cannot call during our guests, but you can chat. on our chat line facility. If you're at the website, IsraelSportsRadio.com, to the right, you click on that box, you can chat in. Or if you're a friend of me on Facebook, you can chat to me as well. We'll read Facebook questions to all our guests. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with Svi after this. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, or tied up Svi Tversky right now of Slam Magazine. So, Hi, Svi. Hello, Svi. Hi, Svi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Hi, Ari Louis with Israel Sports Radio. Thank you for being on today with us.
Thanks for calling.
So, a lot of questions talking about the NBA season. It's been pretty exciting, even though we've had the shortened season with the lockout. But I want to go to All-Star Weekend. Kevin Love wins the three-point competition. I don't think we really expected that. What were your thoughts about K-Lo winning the three-point competition?
You know what? Kevin Love has always been a great shooter in high school and college, and so far in his career in the NBA. I don't know if he always necessarily had that range, but he always had that stroke, and he just had to add distance to it, and he has. And it was surprising, but I don't think it was surprising necessarily to NBA insiders. The most surprising aspect is that he defeated Kevin Durant, possibly the greatest shooter in the NBA right now.
That's true. That's a great point. Right, a lot of people, I think, had Durant as the favorite going in. Now, going to the All-Star game in itself, LeBron James passes off on a chance to take the final shot. A lot of people question it because of his clutch issues in the NBA Finals against the Mavericks. What were your thoughts? Are people overhyping this because it's an All-Star game, it's exhibition, doesn't really count, or do you see something a little more to it?
Yeah, I you know what? I think it's an exhibition game. It's an All-Star game. I mean, this is exactly how I look at it. You know, Dwight Howard, it's his home city, and he didn't really try that hard on the face of it. You know, he took 3 3-pointers, he kind of joked around, and he had fun out there. So is LeBron worse off because he took it seriously and he tried to go hard and he went hard the whole game? You know, what if he would have just taken 23s and said, let's not even consider this game serious? It wouldn't have been in the game and there wouldn't be any controversy. So, I mean, maybe he's worse off for having played a good game. I don't know.
Hi, you're on with Raphael Geller with Israel Sports Radio. I just want to ask you a little about the significance of Kobe being now number 1 in the All-Star game with points scored. What do you think about that?
It's just another record for Kobe, you know, another notch in his belt,
Right.
another step on his ladder. I mean, even though he'll never be greater than Michael Jordan, you know, in most people's eyes, you know, he still wants that. But as you said, you know, I was at the game a couple of weeks ago where he passed by, I forget who he passed, but he moved into third on the all-time scoring list in the regular season play. And the only thing he said afterward is, all I want is that ring. All of this, you know, is just icing. And I think that's how he looks at it. So, you know, let's talk again in June.
Right, and LeBron James and Kevin Durant are not far behind from the record, so they could actually get their record in a couple of years. So we want to talk about the Knicks now. They're currently in 7th place in the East, and we all know about Jeremy Lin. Could we get your intake on Lin and what you think he's brought to the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys got to watch the game last night in Israel, but they were down 17 to the Cavs. He was playing against the top rookie point guard, no offense to rookie Rubio, but Kyrie Irving is exceptional. He may even be a top 5 point guard in the NBA already. And Lin goes and he gets 19-13 and only 1 turnover, and that's been the biggest complaint is his turnovers, and only 1 turnover. So, I mean, he's been playing exceptional. What can you say about it? You know, I don't know how good it'll be in the future, but let's enjoy the right now.
So, do you believe that Jeremy Lin can coexist with Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo? The media in New York has been speculating that that's going to be a problem, and that Carmelo's not going to want to be the one to pass it to Lin and all that stuff. What do you think they can make it work with? Also, let's add Tyson Chandler to that list.
Yeah, absolutely. The kid has no ego from what I've seen, and he's just a point guard. He'll make it work. If anything, he makes the game easier for a guy like Melo. He makes the game easier for a guy like Amari. Harken back to Melo's Nuggets days, and he's playing with Dre Miller. He's playing with good point guards. So, it's easier for him. He doesn't have to work as hard. And as for Amari, it's more a question of if his body's there and if his mind's there and if everything's working out for him. Because it's been a tough year for him, as everyone knows. But if he can get it back, and Melo's clicking with Lin and Tyson Chandler, who, in my mind right now, is the biggest addition to their team. Just the way he's playing defensively has changed everything in the last 15 games. If they can all get it clicking, they may be able to make a run at the Bulls.
All right, so you talked about the main stars on the Knicks. Can you give us an X factor player on the Knicks? One of the bench guys, or Novak, or who do you think, or Jared Jeffries maybe? Who do you think is that X factor guy who can make this team go from like a good team to a great team?
I mean, you're mentioning a lot of great guys on any given night, but really, to me, the X factor is the most obvious guy that I was just talking about, Tyson Chandler. He doesn't get any of the headlines because Lin has them, because Melo has them, because Amari has them, because he doesn't score that much. But just if you watch the game and you focus on him, you'll see that it's almost, I don't want to say it is, but it's almost like that KG effect a few years ago, the Kevin Garnett effect, where his defense is just so on point and so ferocious that it changes the whole game, even if he's only scoring 8 or 9 points.
So do you think the Knicks are a legitimate threat to the Bulls or the Heat in the East? Can they, if they get that 3rd seed, can they make a run in the playoffs and upset the Bulls or the Heat?
Right. So I think that their best bet is to just not finish 7 or 8, so you avoid those 2 teams in the first round because they'll be 1 and 2.
Okay.
You can avoid them. You make the second round, and from there, who knows? I mean, on the face of it, I think that they're still a piece or 2 away. But I think it would be a great series with the Bulls or Miami.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to move on now to Chicago, the Bulls, which are having a great year, even though Derrick Rose has been battling some injuries. And the main question right now is, we had last year at a great conference championship. If the Chicago Bulls do not get the number 1 seed and they have to travel to Miami, can they win? I mean, Miami's playing really great right now. Everyone's clicking, and LeBron looks different this year. He's improved his post game. That's something he worked on in the off season. Do you think that Chicago can go into Miami and win, and win and go to the NBA championship?
You know what? I think Chicago is even better than they were last year. Now that Rip Hamilton's healthy,
right?
Very big games on the next level. Omer Ashik is got a little older, got a little more veteran savvy to him. And if you look at the face of it, the defense may even be better. They're 18-0 when holding opponents under 90 points. They just beat the Spurs last night. Derrick Rose was unreal, and he was talking about this a couple of days ago. How the biggest difference from last year is in the last 2 minutes, they're a lot more on point in terms of their offensive production. He said it's something that Coach Thibodeau has been working on a lot in practice, just execution down the stretch, and that's something that they've been doing really well. That said, I think them going against the Heat is more about the Heat than them. And even without adding a player, even you take away Norris Cole, take away Shane Battier, you take away everything, the biggest addition to the Heat this year is just that they're running up-tempo offense. LeBron James is having what I think is one of the greatest seasons of the modern era.
And you see who would you pick, and then the Bulls or the Miami Heat if it's in Miami?
I mean, it's hard to say, but I would have to say Miami at this point, just because they look that good, and that's not taking anything away from Chicago, but Miami just is on another level right now.
Okay, Derrick Rose, was talking to the media the other day, and someone made kind of this hint at Dwight Howard, and he didn't reject it. He kind of said, "Oh, I'd kind of be interested in doing that." Well, what are your thoughts on possibly maybe getting rid of Boozer, or I don't know what the potential trade would be. But what do you think? Do you think that's possible? Do you think Howard even wants to go to the Bulls? What are your thoughts?
I mean, sure, that would be great. It would be great. But 2 weeks ago, I think there was a rumor that someone had said sources in Derek's inside circle told him that he wanted to trade Boozer for Pau Gasol. And I heard from someone in Chicago media that when Derek heard that, he said, I wonder who their source is. I would never say anything like that. I just would never say anything. Even if I wanted that, I would never say anything like that because I don't talk about my teammates that way, And he said I talked to Boozer and let him know I didn't say that. Because Derek is that kind of guy. He truly is a mensch. He would never, he would never ask for it. He really is. He would never ask for somebody to be traded to his team. He would never speak out against a teammate. So, yes, he'd love to play with Dwight. You'll never see him make a public plea for it. And it probably won't happen. Definitely won't happen. I would go on a limb and say it. But, I mean, Derrick Rose doesn't need a great center, I don't think.
Okay, so you
think they just keep the pieces and build through the draft.
So no one really Boozer can do it. You think they can be a good enough inside presence?
Yeah, that's not even the worry. They got Taj Gibson, who's one of the best power forwards off the bench.
Play.
Everyone remembers what he did in the playoffs last year. He had some fantastic stat lines and fantastic dunks. Yeah, I mean, and Dwight, from what I'm hearing now, it's looking like last night the Golden State Warriors, they didn't officially admit this, but it's, through the grapevine, it's come down that they said that they would trade for Dwight even if he didn't sign an extension, meaning they would trade for him just for the last 3 months of the season.
Wow.
So that adds something new to the mix right there. I mean, him on Golden State, I don't know. And then the other rumor was that he requested Steve Nash get traded to the Magic. Well, the Suns are pretty much out of the Western Conference race. Nash says he's not going to request a trade, but if the Suns think it's best for their franchise, he would do it. Is it best for their franchise? I don't know, but is it best for Steve Nash? Yes. And would that make the Magic a contender? I don't think it makes them better than, the Bulls or better than the Heat, but it definitely puts them higher up in the race than they are right now.
Okay, we're on with Svi Twersky, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, we're on with Steve Twersky from Slam Magazine. He's an editor. We want to talk. We talked about Kobe Bryant a little earlier. We want to go back to the Lakers. What I've been noticing about this Lakers squad this year is the role players, from the past couple championship teams are really struggling. Derek Fisher's not, playing the Derek Fisher that we're used to, and Ron Artest or Meta World Peace is having one of his worst year ever. Who knows? Maybe he's drinking at halftime, or now who knows? But what's going on with the Lakers bench and their role players?
Yeah, I mean, simply put, they have no depth. They all off season they worked on major trades. They tried to get Chris Paul, they tried to get Dwight, and they had Chris Paul, and nothing worked out. So by the time it came down to do anything, they couldn't. Guys were already signed elsewhere. Guys didn't want to go there. Everything was already locked up. And then, Lamar Odom kind of got upset with the whole traded, not traded thing, so he requested out. And, I mean, they lost out on a lot of opportunities. And now, I don't know if you guys have been reading there, but there's a lot of, maybe internal issues. There's rumors of,
Jerry Buss.
with their with their front office. So it's hard for them to make a move. And seems that they're really focused on getting that big fish when they just need a sixth man who can put the ball in the basket. You know, there's rumors of them looking at Mike Beasley or turning down trades for Mike Beasley. Well, that could be the kind of piece exactly that they need. I think head cases have been proven to be able to coexist with Kobe Bryant, and all they really need is another guy who can put the ball in the basket. And if they don't get one, I think they could be, you know, 1, maybe 2 and done in the playoffs. If they get one, you know, we have to talk again.
So we got to ask you the question all our listeners probably are wondering. Do you think that the Lakers will try and make a run at Dwight Howard?
I mean, they've been trying and trying and trying.
Will they succeed?
Yeah, I mean, their GM was in Orlando over the break, and he told a writer yesterday that he didn't get much sleep while he was down there. We can only take that to mean that he was really grinding the wheels, trying to make something happen.
Right.
But look, they really, in my opinion, put all their eggs in one basket, and maybe it's the only basket they got in the championship, but you know, they put everything on Dwight, and now if they don't get him, you know, it's going to be a quick postseason exit for them.
Okay, so you talked about Lamar Odom earlier. We're going to get back to that. There's been some reports in the media that, especially in Dallas, that Lamar Odom is possibly requesting a buyout. Have you heard anything about this? Any sources, anything you've heard that you want to share with us?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff going on, you know, family issues and just basketball-related issues and off-court issues. There's just a lot of issues, I guess you could say. But I don't think anyone really knows what's going on right now with him. And really, all I could say is I hope everything is well for him, and I hope, you know, he can get his head right and get back on the basketball court.
Do you see him, though, finishing out the season with the Mavericks? Or, you know, he was talking about retiring earlier in the offseason.
Yeah, but he said that he had to be talked out of it, and once he did, he realized that it was really not a good idea for him to retire because, you know, when you have a lot of stuff going on in your life, you need an outlet, and his outlet is the basketball court. So, I mean, what would he do without that? What would he do with more free time on his hands? I think now he just needs some time. You know, I don't know exactly what he's doing, but you know, just a little bit of time we'll give him, and you know, we'll take it from there. And then on the other side, Mark Cuban said he would not let him go. You know, he wants him to be a Maverick for the rest of the year.
Okay. We actually broke this story yesterday. Our own Doobie Pick, who writes for Eurobasket, reported that Brandon Roy has been talking to some of his entourage and been telling people that he's interested in coming back from retirement. What are your thoughts on this? It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see someone confirm that story, but yeah, I mean, it's not that weird. It's not that weird. He didn't retire because he didn't love the game. In fact, he probably loves the game more than most players in the NBA. It's just that his knees literally were giving out on him as he played. I mean, and there's no question in my mind whether it's now, in 2 years, in 3 years, he'll want to make a comeback just mentally. That's where his head still is. You know, he's still a young guy. He still wants to play basketball. And that resonates with me, and I'm sure that resonates with a lot of listeners. You know, he just wants to play basketball. That's what he does. His body, though, I don't know where his body is. You know, maybe he feels good right now, but he hasn't taken part in this lockout season. You know, he hasn't taken part in the back-to-back-to-backs. He hasn't practiced 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You know, it'd be a great story if he came back, but if he doesn't, it'll always be great how he went out in the playoffs with that amazing fourth quarter, you know, against the Mavs. That'll always be something we can talk about.
Okay, so I just want to, we were talking about Portland Trailblazers. It's something I've always, you know, thought in my mind a lot. I just wanted to share and get your thoughts on it. You know, Portland, they drafted Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, LaMarcus Aldridge, and they kind of wanted that to be their core for the future. Now you look over at Oklahoma City Thunder, and you know, quietly, they drafted Durant, they drafted Westbrook, and they got Harden. And quietly, that's kind of like that's you kind of look at the Thunder and say, wait a minute, that's what the Portland Trailblazers were trying to do. What are your thoughts on what's going on in Oklahoma? Do you think Oklahoma City, that is? Do you think that the Thunder? There's a lot of talk that Thunder don't have a good inside game. That Westbrook maybe shoots it too much. Do you think that they can rise above all that criticism and maybe make a run to the championship against the Heat?
Yeah, listen, I was in Philly last night for the Thunder Sixers game, and it was a great game. And I think this is very telling. One thing that happened was Kevin Durant got in a little scuffle with the Sixers' second pick last year, Evan Turner.
From
and,
Ohio
they
State.
both got double teed, and the crowd was going crazy. And for the next few minutes, every time Durant, touched the ball, they booed him. And it was right near the end of the first half. So I remember they had the ball with like 10 seconds left, and KD's dribbling out the clock, and everyone's booing him. And you look at him, and you just know that he's about to do something. And he does. He winds the clock down, and he pulls it for a three, and he just, looks at the crowd kind of like, what,
Yeah,
that's it. They have an end-of-game guy, and that's the most important thing in the NBA is to have a closer like that. with Russ, who was a special point guard, with James Harden, who's a great third scorer, with Serge Ibaka, who's an amazing defender. Kendrick Perkins is a great locker room presence and rebounder. Yeah, they can make a run at the finals, and they will.
Okay. We're going to let you go on this as the last question. Who is your season MVP right now, and who do you have winning the NBA Finals as of right now, today?
I mean, as of right now, if the season ended today, I think LeBron James has to win the MVP award just by dint of how amazing he's playing. If you put aside all his faux pas with the media and just all the mistakes that he's made in the last few years off the court in terms of things he said, he's been exceptional on the court. I mean, he's having a season like we haven't really seen since MJ left the league. So enjoy that. And who's going to win the finals? If LeBron keeps it up, I don't think anyone can touch the Miami Heat.
All right, well, there you go. Svi Twerski, it was a pleasure having you on. I know you were on last time with Jasmine, with John Such and Jasmine. It was great to have you on our show. We really appreciate the time, and we'll see what happens from here in the NBA season.
Thank you very much, brother.
All right, Svi, be well. That was Svi Twerski of Slam Magazine. He's given his thoughts. What do you think this season by LeBron James, is it really Michael Jordan-esque?
Yes. In short, very much. His numbers are insane. He's rebounding, he's passing the ball, he's making the shots. A big thing I was talking about with Svi was he's really, really improved his post game. That was something he always got criticized in the first couple of years. He could always, he had that jump shot, he could always drive, but he didn't really have that post game where you can, turn around down low inside. And now I think he worked with Hakeem Olajuwon, one of those great, centers, and they really helped develop his game. And now that he can, play inside, I really think that he is having his best season, if not one of the best seasons that we've seen since Jordan. Yeah. So, yes.
All right, so let's, just for those of you who want to know his stats, LeBron James right now, 27.4 points per game. That's third in the league, behind Kobe Bryant and Kevin Durant. And with Kobe's injury, LeBron will have a chance. Of course, Durant, he's right with Durant, but Kobe, because of his injury, if his production goes down, LeBron will have a chance at the scoring title. Now, keep in mind that for some reason, Kobe Bryant seems to play better when he's injured. So
it's weird, yeah.
His points might actually go up. But
great game last night with the Hamilton-esque mask. He looked like Rip Hamilton a little, kind of weird, but great game. The W, I believe.
And those guys played against each other in high school. Actually, if you recall, Kobe Bryant hit a shot on Rip Hamilton, game to the NBA Finals, to take it to overtime, that three-pointer, and joked and said, that was the biggest shot I hit on Rip since high school. So they played against each other for a long, long time, now adopted that costume, if you will, of that mask.
Right.
All right, now, one thing, though, LeBron James does not have stat-wise so good for him. His rebounds, 8.1, not in double figures, and he's about 15th or so, maybe 20th in the NBA. But you don't think that would cost him an MVP award?
No, I mean, he's tall. He's 6'8", 6'9", but he's not a power forward. So 8 rebounds for a guy like him is not that shabby. Also, you have Haslam on that team. So it's not really his job to rebound the ball. His job, he just is always there at the right time. So I think 8 rebounds is actually a pretty solid number for his position.
And speaking of assists, now Steve talked about Steve Nash going to the Magic, not really helping that much, but Steve still leads the league in assists.
He's still a player.
He's done it for years. People thought Nash was washed up a couple years ago and still led the league in assists. So he's there with Steve Nash, 10.9 assists per game.
Wow,
that's over one of second place Rajon Rondo, who's very, very good. 1.3 more than Rondo. Just to give you some perspective of where Steve Nash is at.
On a team that honestly is not very good this year. So that even, more props to Steve Nash for doing on an under 500 team. Rondo still has the big 3, so.
Yes, he does. And I'm from Phoenix and a big Suns fan, and probably of all the teams in Phoenix, the Suns are my favorite. But I tell you right now, point blank, the Suns suck. And the fact that Nash can do this is incredible. So not at the MVP level he was in 05 and 06, but leading the league in assists 6 years after those 2 MVPs. So certainly something else. By the way, speaking of, we're getting a chat here about Kobe Bryant. He had 31 points, which is more than his season average with the mask.
With the mask.
So
the clear mask, though, which is kind of weird and interesting. Not like Hamilton's mask. Hamilton's mask look a little different.
The thing with Kobe Bryant also, people talk about the mask and say, well, it's maybe not such a big deal. But all players, especially star players, are used to rhythm, routine. And if they have to change all of a sudden, it could affect them in that regard. Hey, I'm all of a sudden have something on my face. Rip Hamilton did it because he had an injury earlier in his career, and he was told if he got hit in the head at the same spot, he'd be all done.
No, it's the cartilage in his nose.
The cartilage in his nose.
Right.
So he was told he'd be all done. So he had to go with the mask. He didn't have a choice.
Now he's in love with it.
And he loves it. He wears it every game. He still is a great player. They say conditioning-wise, shape-wise, that him and Kobe are 1 and 1A as far as just general shape and endurance, if you will, that they're right there. So it doesn't certainly bother him in practice. When he practices with it doesn't bother him in the game, as you see with Rip Hamilton's play. Now, by the way, just some other programming notes. If anyone is having an issue listening to the broadcast, now this will be ironic because you're not hearing what I'm saying right now, but don't be on Chrome, on Google Chrome, Internet Chrome, any of that stuff. You've got to go to Firefox or Internet Explorer to listen to our program. So just a quick programming note. What else do you think about Svi? I mean, he's saying the Lakers putting all their eggs in the basket, trying to get Dwight Howard. That seems to be true.
Yeah, I actually agree with what he was saying. It's almost as if the Lakers are just kind of waiting for it to happen, and you know what? It might not. And what are the Lakers going to do if it doesn't happen? They need to have kind of, I don't want to say a backup plan, but they need to kind of have a backup plan and figure out what they're going to do if they don't get Howard. Because this is a team led by Kobe Bryant. He is going to compete every night. He wants to win every night, and he's always going to think that he's going to win. He doesn't really matter who's on the court. He expects to win. So I think actually the Lakers are a bit in trouble. You know, Kobe's getting older. He's getting banged up. You know, Gasol's having kind of a down year due to the fact that he first got traded to Houston, but then that trade got nixed by David Stern. So, and as we talked with Svi, Derek Fisher, Ron Artest, the bench is just not doing good, and Lakerland is you're in trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah, they certainly are. And remember, no Phil Jackson. You have Mike Brown running the ship, and I don't know how much longer. I mean, if the Lakers lose in the first round of the playoffs, and Svi thinks that will happen if they do not get Dwight Howard, Mike Brown could be done. It's hard to say if they make him scapegoat, give him one more chance. But 2 years ago, they were the NBA champions. So to drop that far in 2 years, Mike probably take the blame, even though he doesn't really deserve it, in my opinion. Speaking of,
he took the blame in Cleveland.
He took the blame in Cleveland, even though I didn't think that was really his fault. I thought that was
coach of the year. I think the year after he got fired, or he was coach of the year and then he got fired.
Right, and that's happened a few times in sports.
Right.
It tells you something wrong with the ownership, and they have poor decisions. You know, thinking the Lakers a few years ago, they were really in trouble, and they got bailed out with the Paul Gasol trade.
Huge trade. Huge.
You know, one of the best steals in NBA history, and they gave basically nothing to get him for the Grizzlies. So could they somehow get bailed out? Maybe, but they are risking. I mean, had they not got Paul Gasol, they wouldn't have won 2 titles and 3 trips to the finals.
Right.
So the difference, Dwight Howard goes to the Lakers, and we're probably going to see Lakers Heat in the finals, which is what everybody wants to see. We thought we were going to see it a few years ago. LeBron versus Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard, actually, and Dwayne Wade. You have 4 stars in the NBA Finals.
Right.
So David Stern's a dictator. He's the best commissioner in sports because he's a dictator. He needs to somehow get this done. I don't care if it's tampering.
He will. If the Lakers start to struggle, the NBA counts on the Lakers to do well, and I think, yeah. David Stern's a tricky guy. Look what he is. Look what he did with the Paul trade to LA. That was a bit weird. You look at what's going on in New Orleans now. They pretty much got Eric Gordon, who's already said multiple times to the press in New Orleans, "I'm leaving." They got Kaman, who's beyond his prime, and then they got another shooting guard who's at best, second guy off the bench. So, what David Stern said, he did the best deal for the Lakers, for the Clippers and for New Orleans. But you look at what's going on. The Clippers are doing amazing now, and New Orleans is just struggling. So if David Stern wants it to happen, who knows?
If he wants it to happen, it'll happen. Dictator Stern. And by the way, to give you some idea, they have the whole conspiracy that they want Lakers Knicks every year. Well, you could have Lakers Celtics, Lakers Heat, Lakers Bulls, and David Stern will be fine. But the key is the Lakers. Because the Western Conference, the Lakers are really the only star. Memphis is not going to draw so much in the NBA Finals. Neither are my Suns, the Rockets. I mean, who else from the West? If you think about last year you had the Mavericks. That was probably the closest big market. Dallas is a pretty big market to Los Angeles. Before that, 3 years in a row, you had the Lakers coming out of the West. Then before that, you had the big market San Antonio Spurs, and we know how those ratings go.
Spurs are having a good year, though.
Yeah, the Spurs are
having
having
the
a
radar year. Tony Parker's playing. People always think he's so old because he's been there for so long. But I believe he's only 30 years old.
He got in the league when he was 19.
Drafted as a teen, exactly. And Tim Duncan is still alive, still playing, still kicking it. And they got some good role players, some young guys on the team. And let's not forget they have legendary coach Greg Popovich leading them every game. So that's something that other squad should be afraid of. I would say he's, now that Phil Jackson's out of the game, he's probably, the number one head coach. What do you think?
Yeah, Pop's a scary dude. I mean, Pop originally in the 70s was going to apply at the CIA. He's a very smart guy. He's very intimidating. He knows how to talk to reporters. He knows all the reporters' names. Will address them by their first name. Will make fun of them if he has to.
Kind of Bill Belichick of the NBA. Just different, but kind of the same.
I would say more Bill Parcells.
Parcells, okay.
Belichick is at a point in his mind where I don't even need to say anything to you. Parcells will go out of his way to make fun of reporters.
Right, very true.
Say things like, you got sucked. He teases them. They call him the Tuna because he said some sarcastic remark. What do you think I am, Charlie the Tuna, to either one of his players or the press? I mean, he enjoys making fun of press members. Belichick would rather not talk to the press at all and be by himself. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, tell us who we have on the other side.
We are going to have University of Memphis coach Josh Pastner join us, which is we're very excited. It's going to be a great interview, so please tune in 3 minutes.
Yes, we'll take a break and be back with Josh. You listen to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, we're trying to get in touch with Coach Josh Pastner of Memphis. And
the squad, and we're back. I think we're going to have him on in a second.
Hello? Hi, Coach. Can you hear us?
I hear you great.
All right, great. It is now our pleasure to introduce coach of Memphis, University of Memphis basketball squad, and also an assistant back in the day at U of A, Coach Josh Pastor. Coach, welcome to Israel Sports Radio.
Thank you for having me on, and appreciate being on. As you know, I'm a proud Jew, and glad to be on the Israeli Sports Radio.
Absolutely, and a pleasure is ours as well. And I'm originally from Arizona, so I'm going to ask you a lot of the questions about the 97 team. Now, tell us exactly what you did. You were a player coach, but the reason you went to U of A was to learn under Lute Olson. So what was that like to coach members who are your teammates as well?
Well, what I did is I wrote a letter to every single Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA Division I, and NAIA Division II schools in America, and the only one to respond to me, because what I was a decent high school player, but I wanted to coach, I wanted to stay involved in the game, and so when I was writing these letters, I was saying I want to walk on, I'd be a positive influence, I could help in any capacity, and so the only school to actually respond to me was Arizona. And they felt that, okay, here's a guy who wants to coach. He can actually work the guys out, study film with them, and it wouldn't count against any of the hours. And so they brought me on, and we, my freshman year, we ended up winning the national championship. I'll never forget. I was thinking, man, this is easy. We're going to do this every single year. And I remember my dad telling me afterwards, saying, son, savor this. This is, don't take this for granted. And the longer you go in the game, you realize how hard it is to do what we did that year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I brought this up in the program earlier that in Lute Olson's great Hall of Fame career with all the players he put in the NBA, all the trips to the Final Four, only won one title. So it gives you an idea of just how hard it is to do that.
Yeah, no, winning that national title is very hard. I mean, it's not always the best teams that win it. It's teams that maybe get a little hot, get a break here and there, hit a couple shots. I mean, it's very easy to have an off night, and in college basketball, when it's a one-game scenario, anything can happen.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about that team in particular because people remember Mike Bibby probably the most freshman that year. He went on to the NBA, but Miles Simon, and at least in my opinion, I mean, you obviously know more than me about this, but I always thought Miles Simon was the leader of that team, junior that year. I know he didn't make it into the NBA, but talk about Miles' impact on that national championship 1997 U of A team.
Yeah, well, Miles, he got a little cup of coffee in the NBA. He was picked second round, had a little stint, actually played overseas. I think he played in Israel, by the way, and he also played in CBA. But Miles, he's a winner. Great team leader, hard-nosed, tough. He was just a tough guy, and he made big shots. He's just one of those guys that was a really, really good college basketball player. He's actually doing TV now for ESPN. Does an absolutely fantastic job.
That's great because I always liked him when I watched him in Arizona. And I always hoped that he would make it in some capacity beyond college. And I'm glad that he's doing well in the media world. Going back to U of A and Lute Olson. Famous, legendary, we hear a lot of different tactics that he would do to increase success. One of the things I heard about, and confirm this please if it's true or not, the 5-at-5 thing where he would have his players run 5 miles, 5 in the morning, which would not only get great endurance, but ensure they wouldn't be partying out all night. Is that true, at least while you were there, or did he employ it afterwards? Tell us about the 5-at-5 rumor.
Well, he would have him run 5 miles at 5 if there was any discipline issues.
Okay.
Guys late to class, stuff like that. That's when that's when he used the 5-at-5. He really used it for discipline, and because once you got to do that, you probably won't mess up again.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm waking up before 7, I'm not the happiest camper. So to run 5, couldn't imagine running 5 miles at any point before 8 in the morning, or really in general, to be honest with you. But okay, so that is the scoop, that it was under disciplinary action when they made a mistake. And one more question about the U of A. As you see, again, I'm just a big Arizona fan, so I just love that year so much. That year, the U of A beat 3 number 1 seeds, I believe, to win the title.
Yeah, and the only time that had ever happened in NCAA tournament history.
Right. So, I mean, I want to say this the right way. Not that you go into the tournament thinking that you're not going to win, but at a 5 seed, when you have to do this thing. I mean, were the players saying – I kind of sense they believed it was possible. But, players are so young at that age, they're bright-eyed. What was the thinking going in before the tournament? Like, hey, we can really do this. Just tell us the mindset before the tournament started.
Well, our first game in that tournament was against South Alabama, and we were down 10 points with 5 minutes to go in the game.
Whoa.
And it looked pretty bleak. But we found a way to come back, and Mike Bibby had some big shots down the stretch. So when we went in there, we knew we were actually playing well prior to the NCAA tournament. We had lost 2 games to at Stanford and then at Cal the previous weekend before the tournament started, because during that time there was no conference tournament at that time of the Pac-10. So we had lost 2 games, but we had played really well. Both Stanford and Cal were top 25 teams. And so we knew we were playing okay, and we just kind of went through, and we beat South Alabama. Then we beat College of Charleston by 4 points, hit some free throws down the stretch. And in the Sweet 16, we were playing Kansas, which was projected to win the whole thing that year. They had 1 loss the entire year, which was to Missouri earlier in the year. And, the pressure was on them, and it was one of those things where we just played well. And they missed a couple shots, but we played at a very high level, and we were able to get the victory. Then the next game we went to overtime versus Providence in the Elite Eight and won that game, and then from there, obviously, beating North Carolina and beating Kentucky to clinch it out.
Hi, Coach. You're on with Rafael Geller with Israel Sports Radio. So my co-partner here was talking with you about your time at Arizona. I just want to go a little bit back to your high school days. This is what I thought was really, really neat when I was, reading about you. You actually got your dad handed over his AAU team to you, I believe, at age 16. Is that correct?
That is correct. I used to coach guys that were actually older than me at that time, no doubt.
Right, and some of these guys were future NBA players: Emeka Okafor, T.J. Ford, and Daniel Gibson. Right?
Correct. That is correct.
So you walk in there. You're not the biggest guy. And you walk into the locker room and you tell these guys that you're their coach. What was their first reaction?
Well, they obviously it's a little bit of a shell shock, but that's all part of it. And I think coaching, as in anything in life, age is overrated, whether you can get the job done or not. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And obviously in coaching, you need great players. Better the better you're going to look as a coach. And some of the players you just mentioned are pretty good, so they might have made me look like I knew what I was doing out there. And so it's just one of those things where you got to earn the respect, and that's through working hard, through relationships, and through trust, and doing the job, and sticking to your principles, and just staying true to what you believe in.
Okay, great. So you went to Arizona really to be an assistant. You, as you said, you weren't the best player in high school, but you got them to agree to take you on. So when you got to Arizona, what were you looking? At this point, Lute Olson was still considered a basketball legend. What were you looking forward to when you heard you were going to Arizona, that you'd be under the wings of Lute Olson?
Well, just the opportunity to be at a very, very high level and learn from one of the great coaches of all time. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame, and to be able to have that foundation in front of you is something that's really, really important. And so it was just an absolute honor to be able to be part of such a storied program, and then also to learn from one of the greats of all time.
Great, and now we're going to kind of move on a little forward in your career. You were an assistant coach under John Calipari, who is, widely known as one of the best college basketball coaches right now. What did you learn in your 1-year stint under him? What was the main thing that got you ready to take the head coaching job that you got offered when he left for Kentucky?
Well, Coach Calipari in those 4 years previous to when I got the job here had the greatest run in the history of college basketball. It was most wins ever in the history of those 4 years. So I was the guy, being his assistant, said whoever replaces Coach Calipari is going to have to be a crazy. And so I didn't want the job. It just happened to be where nobody wanted the job, and I was the last man standing. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. So I was a crazy guy that decided to take it. And but obviously, unfortunately, things have worked out for everybody, and we keep moving forward and continue to play well, and and we just continue to have kept the program at a high level, which is really good.
Great. So as you mentioned when you first came on, you said, which we kind of giggled at and thought was great that you said you're proud to be a Jew. So we just want to ask you, how do you identify with Judaism, and how do you connect Judaism and basketball?
Funny, I'm looking at on my desk right here. There's a National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame and Museum. The 20th annual induction ceremony. They send me stuff, constantly just on updates on that. And the other thing is, I just got something right here from the Hebrew Watchman here that covers the Mid-South here in Memphis. And last year I was very, very fortunate to receive an award for the Jewish Coaches Association, the Red Airback Coaches Award. I was able to receive that last year, which was just a blessing. And just being I'm proud I'm a proud Jew. I also recognize that in all, it's about people, regardless of race, regardless of religion, gender, anything like that. It's about people. It's about how you treat people, and that's my main principle of life is be good to all and treat people the right way. Do the best you can in those areas, but it's amazing. We had a wonderful temple here. Actually, synagogue here. They have a large Jewish population here in Memphis, and Rabbi Micah Greenstein, where I go to services with him, he's a terrific rabbi. So very fortunate and blessed to be around good people, and not only Jewish people, but just people in general. There's so many good people here in Memphis, regardless of race or religion or anything else, gender. I mean, there are just so many good people here in Memphis.
Yeah, I was actually, this summer I had to have a surgery in Mississippi, believe it or not, and my family stopped in Memphis, and we actually stayed with the family, the Camp family from, I believe it was Baron Hirsch Synagogue. Is that a synagogue?
Oh, yeah, Baron Hirsch, great synagogue, absolutely. No, very well.
Amazing people. We still keep in contact with them. Great. We only stayed with them for 3 days, but it felt like it was a lifetime. Okay. Got to ask, have you been to Israel? Have you ever been to Israel? Yeah.
I've never been. Would like to go one day. My sister been. She went on a birthright trip, and my dad. She didn't want to leave. My dad forced her to come back. I think she met an Israeli soldier over there.
That's what happens.
And she didn't want to come back, but we forced her back. She has all school and stuff to finish over here, but everyone that goes there just is just absolutely in awe of it. And I know Bruce Pearl, who took the Maccabi games last year, got the gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
Or was that last summer? The summer before? I think the summer before. Maybe it was the summer before. But no, I haven't been. Have heard only great things, and so that's something that I'm hoping to knock off my bucket list one of these days when time allows.
Great. So now we're going to move on to your current team. We want to be the first ones to congratulate you. I believe you are regular season champions in Conference USA with a 12-3 record.
Yep, absolutely. And we're keeping it moving. And got a big game Saturday at Tulsa, which is a CBS national game, 11 a.m. Central Time, and then on to the conference tournament next week.
Right. So you guys are sitting at 22-8, 12-3. You guys start off the year ranked, and there are a lot of high expectations, and you had a couple early season losses. But to good teams, looking at the schedule, I think you lost to Murray State, a couple other ranked teams, and the past 2 months you've been very, very good, just very quietly. What are your expectations in the conference tournament, and what do you guys believe that if you win the conference tournament, as I believe you did last year? I think you did last year, right?
Yeah, we won the conference tournament last year. I mean, we still have a lot to play for this year. We got like I said, a big game at Tulsa on Saturday, and then the conference tournament next week. But last year we won the conference tournament. We had 25 wins. Got a 12 seed and actually played Arizona.
Right.
In the.
How was that for you? Did it bring back?
Yeah, it was an interesting game. It was, that's my alma mater, but I didn't look at it like that because it would have been different if I was coaching against Lute Olson, but obviously he wasn't the coach. He's not coaching there anymore, so It was more about Memphis and And I think other people made it bigger than it was. But this year we hope to get the best seed we can get. But the best way we can do that is to win as many games as we can down the home stretch.
Cool, very cool. So you are known for being an amazing, amazing recruiter. You had one of the top 2-3 recruiting classes last year, I believe. Can you tell us just a funny recruiting story you have? Anything that you can recall that you just made you laugh? Something that happened that you...
Well, I don't know how many funny stories there are, but what it is that sometimes you put 3-4 years of work in, really recruiting, a young guy who's at the time 14, 15, let's see him all the way through he's 17, 18, and then you put 4 years of just emotional investment into it, and then it comes down to decision time, and then it's an amazing thing, and then he says he's going to your school or going to another school, but then the next day, whether he come in your school or going to another school, you got to wake up and go get the next kid. So recruiting's really it's a very, very interesting facet of sports, how recruiting works, especially in basketball. Because I don't think football's like this, or even some other sports. Because in men's basketball, it's you're really recruiting at such a young age on guys. I mean, you can go into middle school and recruit guys, and then you recruit them hard, and sometimes you get them, and sometimes you don't, but when you put so much time and effort, it's like if you don't get the kid, it's like a loss. I mean, like it's kind of takes a shot at you for a little bit until you can, and then you got to brush it off and get the next one. And if a kid decides to come, it's like a big time win. So it's amazing how the recruiting game works.
All right, Coach, kind of a light, fun question. Life in Memphis, what is it like? It's not a big city like New York or Chicago, Los Angeles, but they have pretty good southern hospitality, if you will. Tell us what life is like in Memphis, Tennessee.
Life in Memphis, Tennessee is just it's solid. I mean, good people, good food. But I always talk about the most important thing in Memphis is the people. People in Memphis are absolutely fantastic.
All right, and now last question, because I'm the Arizona guy. So what was life like in Tucson? I'm from Phoenix, and Tucson, not exactly the most exciting city. People say it's boring, but I always thought Tucson had a certain charm about it. Some of the mountains, also great people. Something about it always kind of stuck with me. What were your thoughts about life in Tucson, Arizona?
No, Tucson is a beautiful spot, one of the great places in all of Earth. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. It's really not even reality when you think about it with the weather and the scenery. So I love my time there and also love living there.
Great stuff. It takes me back to when I was in Tucson. It was always a lot of fun. I'd go down to the weekend, go to the Hill, hang out there, and then try to catch a game or two if I can of U of A. So this was really a lot of fun, Coach. We certainly appreciate the time. I certainly enjoyed going down memory lane with the 97 title team. And all the best. Good luck this season.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you very much.
We'll have to have you on. I know you're going to be very busy with March Madness coming up, but hopefully you guys get the title and then come on as a champion again.
That'd be the best if we can get the title. I'll come on as with the national championship. That'd be a fun thing.
That sounds great. All right, we'll hold you to it, Coach. Thanks so much again for the time, and again, good luck the rest of the way.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it so much.
All right, be well.
Okay.
Wow, that was awesome. A lot of these coaches will kind of play mind games and not be up front. But very honest guy, tells it like he is, like he's thinking. He says, I love their line about the recruiting where if you don't get the guy, you're kind of hurt. Right. Most coaches don't say that.
Yeah, you can just tell his competitive spirit and his nature and why everyone groomed him at a young age to be such a successful head coach, and he's done a great job at Memphis. They're going back to the NCAA tournament. And, it was just a great interview. I really enjoyed it.
I love the idea of him writing to all the universities. I mean, how long would it take to do that? Imagine the commitment and dedication to write to every single one of them just to have a chance to work for them. And
especially in the pre-social networking, Facebook.
Right.
This is 97, 96?
Yeah, something like that. So he had actually
letters, maybe.
Yeah,
wow.
He had to write letters, physical letters to hundreds of times. And, to then get the answer back from U of A, that you're in. He must have just been floored. Why they picked him in, the University of Southern, blah, 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 some little school, didn't return his letter. Probably surprised him, but I looked like it worked pretty good for him.
Yeah,
for the coach.
And it worked out also for Lute Olson. You can say that he kind of groomed one of the up-and-coming coaches in college basketball.
Lute Olson, again, as I mentioned, all the success, only one title. And not only one title, but only made it to the title game one other time against Duke in 2001. Also, the coach said that part of the reason why it's so hard to win college basketball is because not always the best team wins. Many, many times the best team does not win the national championship. You do need a little luck. You need a bounce go your way, make a shot, make your free throws, referee call, where you play in the tournament. Also, a lot of times not necessarily up to you. If you, for example, U of A, they travel pretty good, but if they have to play, let's say, an Elite Eight game in New York against Syracuse, well, that's a bad break.
Syracuse is going to dominate.
Syracuse will probably dominate because the competition at the top of college basketball is so even. These kids are so young that home court advantage really makes a difference. And there are teams that get home court advantage in these tournaments because of where the game is scheduled, just the way it is.
Well, yeah, just what you were talking about. If you look at the last couple of years in the NCAA tournament, we've had Butler and VCU make the Final Four, and a lot of people talk about how, wow, that's a shock, but it's really not. The competition has really improved over the last couple of years. A lot of guys, who miss out on getting recruited by the big schools go to these. Even Butler and VCU aren't small schools. They're still D1 schools in respectable leagues. So, yeah, like you were saying, the competition is much, 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 much better right now in college basketball, and I think it's just going to improve as the years go by. And I think this year we might have another mid-major, but we're gonna talk about that with Myron Medkoff coming up.
Yeah, going back to VCU was not even supposed to make the tournament according to some people last year. Some people thought they didn't deserve to get in.
Third in their conference, and they're in the Colonial Association, the Colonial something conference.
And they get in as a 13 seed.
Right.
So if you would have, it wasn't too long ago that they didn't take the 64. If you had, let's say, out of 48, they would have missed it. And they go to the Final Four. Just an incredible story. But like you mentioned, competition is close enough where a 13 can play with a 1. Yep. Or the top 50th team could play against the top second. I mean, it's really that close. So little bumps that will make a difference. Obviously, great coaching, great point guard, but then where they play as well. And in the 97 year, you had Bibby as the point guard, you had Lute Olson as the coach, and you also had Coach Pastor there as well, which certainly helped them.
Right.
I just love this idea also of him coaching guys older than him. Now, that happens in the pros. With the Buccaneers, when they won the Super Bowl, you had Gruden was 33, 34, so he coached guys older. But a 35-year-old coaching a 40-year-old is not the same as a 19-year-old coaching even a 22-year-old. It's just
amazing.
That senior guy is going to go, hey, freshman, what are you doing? Shut up. Don't tell me what to do. But he was able to get their respect, and I love. And you smiled when he said this. When he said, "Hey, age is just a number. It's not about that all the time.
Age is overrated.
Age is overrated." Right. That's what he said. So it's not always about
line.
That. It's great that he just went in there and just said, "Well, if I deserve it, if I should be the coach, if I'm going to prove I deserve to be here and earn it, then I should earn it." And he got their respect and got them to play at a high level. And then all these players, I mean, take a look at some of those players that he's coached that went on. Emeka Okafor, who else on the list?
TJ Ford. I mean, so he's had something like 100 Division I players under his watch or something crazy. He grew up in Houston. His dad was a legendary AAU coach, and his dad kind of said, you know what? Here you go. I'll give you my team. And at age 16, as we talked about in the interview, age 16, that's sophomore in high school. He is suddenly the head coach of a powerhouse AAU team. So that just really shows how impressive Coach Pastner is.
The guy was just born to be a coach. And I also love that he said he was a prodigy. That's we always like hear that on Israel Sports Radio.
Love it.
Great stuff. All right, my man, who do we have on coming up after the break?
Next, we're very happy to have Myron Medkoff from ESPN College Basketball writer, and he's going to join us in 3 minutes.
Yes, so we'll take a break on the other side. ESPN's Myron Metcalf. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff,
and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Tapio, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Ari Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live. As you hear the ringing, we're going to bring out our next guest shortly. And this has just been a fun show so far. Hi, Myron.
Yep.
Hi, this is Ari Louis with Israel Sports Radio. You're on Louis Live. How you doing out there?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, and I'll tell you, before we really begin this interview, just so it's known, we did make a special negotiation with you to come on the program, and we will be sending you out an Israel Sports Radio T-shirt. My question is, do you want a blue one or a white one?
Blue works for me. I appreciate that. I just want some proof that I'm doing a radio show in the Middle East. So
absolutely, yes. Hey, well, you'll be helping us, my man, because then it's good promotion. We want the people of Bristol to know that there's a sports station out here, and our shirts are blue and white because the Israeli flag, of course, blue and white. So that's why we have them blue and white. But I'll let my college basketball expert pop you some questions here.
Hi, this is Raphael.
All right.
This is Raphael Geller on with you. I want to start talking about who do you see as your player of the year? A lot of people it's boiled down to Thomas Robinson or Anthony Davis. Who do you think is the player of the year as of right now, and why?
Well, it's definitely a tight race right now for a lot of reasons. I think, Thomas Robinson has carried Kansas to what will likely be a number one seed. He's been, one of the best players in the country, certainly, and if you look at the way he played in that Missouri game, he just really proved that he's a star. By stepping up in that game, Missouri's up by 19 points, and he leads Kansas to that victory. But for me personally, I just think it's been Anthony Davis for a while. I've stuck with Anthony Davis for the last couple of months because I think the impact that he's had on the game is undeniable. Here's a guy who's averaging 5 blocks a game. His offense has improved, and he is really changing the way that teams compete against Kentucky. I mean, if you look at games against Florida and against Vanderbilt, here are teams that are top 25 caliber teams that didn't have any options offensively because of Anthony Davis inside. I mean, he's literally one of the greatest defenders that we've ever seen in college basketball. We won't recognize that until he's going on to the NBA and he excels there. But he's a special player, and I think he's had a greater impact on the game, a greater impact on his team even. So for me personally, it's Anthony Davis.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, Davis, this is out just to give a rundown. Davis is averaging right now 14.3 points a game, almost 10 boards a game, and as you said, 5 blocks a game. And this is a really impressive number, shooting 66%, from the field. Okay, so we talked about Anthony Davis. Now we just want to talk about Kentucky as a whole. Just letting you know, heads up, I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana for part of my life, so I am a Hoosier fan. I know you're a Minnesota guy, but so my next question, we'll get to the Hoosiers later, but my next question is, now everyone is starting to wonder, can Kentucky do this? Can Kentucky go undefeated the rest of the way? We know the Hoosiers had that huge win, that Christian Watford buzzer beater, but do you think that Kentucky can, run through in the conference tournament and then, win all the way in the NCAA tournament?
I think they definitely can. To me, I picked them at the start of the year, beat North Carolina in the national title game, and I'm sticking with them. I think they can go undefeated the rest of the way. Only Indiana found a way to beat this team.
Who knows?
And, let's be honest, it was on sort of a prayer at the end of the game. I give Indiana credit. Certainly, Indiana's been a very talented team to beat through top 5 teams. That is not an easy task.
Right. But
one team all year has found a way to defeat this Kentucky squad. You have a team that has a guy like Terrence Jones, a preseason All-American, who might be the 5th best player on that team. Think about that.
Right.
There's a guy who, last year, if he enters the NBA draft, he's a lottery pick.
Right.
And he might be the 5th best player on that roster. You just don't have another team that's like that. I think Syracuse is good. That zone could cause some problems for Kentucky. But talent-wise, there's nobody that can match Kentucky. There's nobody that can match the confidence. And I just think this is John Calipari's best opportunity to win a national championship. Some folks say it's not as good as that John Wall team. To me, it can be better. I think it's very comparable now, and I think they're going to make more noise in the NCAA tournament just because they have so many pieces and so much versatility. So, yeah, they can go the rest of the way without losing. And I picked them to win the national championship, so I expect that.
Okay, so, as you talked about, they have great, Terrence Jones, Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They have Lamb. They have a bunch of great players. But if we're going to have any buts here, we got to talk about Marcus Teague, the point guard from Pike from Indianapolis. He's kind of, had an up and down season. Do you think that he can be the starting guard and lead? I mean, you kind of answered the question before, but do you think that, Marcus Teague is the answer at point guard, and can he do it?
I think he can. Here's the thing about Marcus Teague. Here's what's unfair. He's coming after John Wall. He's coming after Brandon Knight. And if you watch the Kentucky team, you're expecting a lottery pick at that position. So you're not used to seeing a guy who's more of a distributor, more of a facilitator. And I think what happened over the first couple months of the season, Marcus Teague was trying to play within that legacy. He was trying to do things that he wasn't comfortable doing. He was sort of playing outside of himself, if you will. And I think over the last month, Marcus Teague has recognized that his job is just to facilitate. He has talent. He has the pieces. He just has to be the guy that sets up that offense, the guy that doesn't turn the ball over, which obviously he's had problems with that in the past. And if he can do that in the NCAA tournament, certainly he's the guy for the job. He's not John Wall. He's not Brandon Knight. He's not going to be the most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament. He's not the MVP of this team. But he might be one of the most important pieces because of his role. And I think if he just sticks to being a point guard, which is all he has to do, they have all the scoring they need. They don't really need his help there. They just need him to distribute the ball, to make that offense go. And I think there have been a lot of instances in recent weeks where he's proven that he can do that. So if we look at him, I think in the proper perspective, I mean, a lot of people would see Marcus Teague differently, as opposed to being, Jeff Teague's brother who was supposed to be better than him and coming after John Wall and Brandon Knight. He's doing what he's supposed to do at this point, and that's being a distributor and a facilitator.
Right, and actually, going back to the Indiana Hoosiers game, he actually had a pretty solid game at the end. He kind of kept Kentucky in the game because Anthony Davis and Terrence Jones were having bad games. So who knows what the score would have been if Teague didn't play better. Okay, so we're going to stay with Kentucky. You kind of touched on this before, but Anthony Davis, do you think he's the best defensive player since Shaq, or even better than Shaq? Who do you think he's comparison to? Well,
he's a lot like Marcus Camby.
Right.
you can't overlook what Greg Oden did for the 3 months that he was available. I mean, Greg Oden was a pretty dominant defender at Ohio State that year. Obviously, Shaq. There've been a lot of guys. I'm not going to call him the greatest defender of all time. So let me say that before I say what I'm about to say.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's been a more versatile defender in modern college basketball history than what we've seen with Anthony Davis. I'm not saying he's Bill Russell, but when you look at the way he's defending and the fact that here's a guy who's blocking three-pointers, he's changing the way that teams compete against this Kentucky squad. You know, Florida, you watch that game, the first meeting between those teams.
Yeah.
Florida comes out, and they're trying to attack. If they're good, we're going to attack. We're going to see what happens. Anthony Davis says, no way. So in the second half, they go from shooting 9 threes in the first half to 18 in the second half. There's just no real way to beat this team if Anthony Davis stays out of foul trouble and continues to play the defense that he's played. So to me, he's certainly in that conversation with the Marcus Camby, the Shaq, the Greg Oden, the guys who've been really dynamic, big defenders. But I think even beyond that, he's more versatile than those guys just because of his agility and his ability to get to the three-point line. And I think he's also better at matching up with more positions. Anthony Davis can guard a wing. He can guard a two-man. I don't know if those guys could do that. So that's what makes him special.
Right, and as you mentioned, Florida's a guard-oriented team. You know, if Kentucky gets that kind of bracket where they're playing a lot of teams that are mostly, point guard-oriented, they could have a really, really good chance to win the tournament.
Who beats them? I mean, that's what I keep asking people. I wrote a story a few weeks ago about Kentucky being the favorite. I got emails from people saying, how could you say that? It's too early. Find the team that beats them. I mean, right now, obviously it could happen. The NCAA tournament, crazy things happen all the time. But name a team right now that you would say, oh, yeah, that team could beat Kentucky. There's no team out there where you can look at them right now and go, yeah, I think they would beat Kentucky right now. And that's odd this time of year to have a squad that has really separated itself the way that I think Kentucky has.
Okay, so obviously conference tournaments are coming up, and we want to touch on looking at the major conferences: Big East, Big Ten, SEC, Pac-12, which we'll get into that a little later. Pac-12. Who do you think is one of these teams? Is number 4, 5, 6 in the conference that can kind of shock the basketball world and win their conference tournament, and steal that at-large bid from another team because they get the automatic bid. Like, do you see a team, maybe in, let's say in the Big Ten, maybe a team like Iowa who's played really well lately, got 2 wins against ranked teams. Do you see any team in any of these big conferences who can let's say they're an NIT team before and that they win the tournament and they become they win the tournament so they get the automatic bid? What do you think?
Well, I think you got to start with the Mountain West, where Colorado State is obviously going after a
huge win last night.
Got some big wins by teams like TCU. I think in the Mountain West, certainly some funny stuff could happen. The top 3 teams are really good. I think San Diego State, New Mexico, and UNLV. But that's a league where a 4th team could come in and steal a bid by making a run. The Big Ten, Iowa reminds me a lot of Minnesota. 2010, right. The 2010 Big Ten tournament when the Gophers made this crazy run, knocked off Purdue and Michigan State, ended up losing in the Big Ten title game to Ohio State, but it was enough to, get them through the bubble and to earn that at-large bid. So Iowa, I think, is coming on strong at the perfect time for that league. And I think also, if you look at a mid-major conference, the CAA, where I think Drexel and VCU should be NCAA tournament teams. We'll see what the selection committee believes about that. But, Georgia Mason, Old Dominion, there are leagues and teams in that league that could come in and I think steal a bid as well. The Pac-12 is bizarre, so a lot of weird stuff could happen in that league as well. But I think those conferences you could see some situations where, teams that thought they were going to get that at-large berth might end up losing it as a result of what happens in those tournaments.
Okay, great. Good stuff. Okay, so now we talked a little about Kansas earlier. We got to have you on and talk about Kansas. I watched this team. I look at what they lost last year. And, I think they're now number 4 now in the country. And even Kansas fans have got to be a little shocked. Bill Self has done absolutely great job. Thomas Robinson, I think he played under 20 minutes a game last year. Jeff Withey, Tyshawn Taylor. What do you think? I mean, is this good coaching? Is this talent? What do you think? How's Kansas being so successful this year?
Well, I think they have more talent than a lot of folks may have realized entering the year. I mean, Thomas Robinson was supposed to be pretty good, but it was hard to know exactly because he hadn't played that much last season. He was in a reserve role. So I think as much as people may have expected him to be good, I don't know if most people figured he would be this good. Tyshawn Taylor might be his biggest competition for Big 12 Player of the Year honors. Jeff Withey, a guy who a lot of people said was too soft to really make an impact, has proven to be a really talented big man. So I think it starts with talent. There's certainly some pieces on this Kansas team that a lot of squads don't have access to. I mean, it helps to have a guy who might be the National Player of the Year. So that's a big part of it. But I think Bill Self has proven that he's a very good coach as well. The expectations were somewhat lower than what they've been for this Jayhawks team in recent years. And once again, he gets the Big 12 title. And I don't know what you can do to stop Bill Self from winning the Big 12 title.
Right.
He can't win it this year because Baylor and Missouri look like teams that can kind of, do some damage and possibly snatch that conference championship away from them. But again, Kansas has been too good. So certainly coaching, talent, it's all kind of come together at the right time. If there's a player that I think is most important, I don't know if it's Thomas Robinson. It might be Tyshawn Taylor.
He's having a great
guy,
year.
if you go into the NCAA tournament, and if he doesn't turn the ball over 6 times, they can win the national championship.
Wow.
I mean, that's what it really comes down to. He's that explosive, that dynamic, and if he can control the ball, Kansas is not only a Final Four team, that might be the greatest threat in the NCAA tournament to a team like Kentucky.
Okay, great. So now we're going to talk about some mid-majors that you think can make some major noise in the tournament. We got, Wichita State. We got a lot of teams. Who do you think can, maybe get that 10 to 12 seed and make it to the Elite Eight, Final Four? I mean, VCU, Butler, do you have any teams that are that good this year?
Well, I mean, Wichita State and Creighton are kind of known. They're not really sleepers, but I think obviously they could do some damage. I think you got to look at a team like Middle Tennessee State, squad that beat UCLA at the start of the year, gave Vanderbilt a major test a few weeks ago. It's a Sun Belt team, and that's a team that I really like. They have a lot of Division I transfers. LeRon Dindy is one of the best players that most people have never heard of, and I think that's one of those squads where your favorite team is in a 5 spot playing them at 12, and next thing you know, you look up and it's 66 to 62 with 35 seconds left. That they're that good. They have a lot of athleticism, so I really like a team like Middle Tennessee State. I think the CAA is packed with teams that can make some noise. Drexel is one of the best defensive teams in the country, a team that hasn't lost since, I believe, November.
Wow.
So the Dragons have just been an amazing, amazing team, and winning the CAA was not an easy task with George Mason, VCU, and Old Dominion in that league. Shaka Smart, again, with VCU.
Good coach.
They've been there, and we know that Butler went to back-to-back national title games.
Mm-hmm.
I think coaching becomes so much more important in the NCAA tournament. The guys who've been there before, the guys who understand how to keep a team poised in a tough situation in single-elimination basketball. So I like what Shaka Smart has talent-wise, and I like his experience. So that's a team that could, score a few upsets as well. George Mason, Old Dominion, they're going to need probably a CAA tournament title to get in, but those teams could be dangerous. So those are the few of the mid-majors that I think people are talking about somewhat. But for me, Middle Tennessee State is a team that I've looked at for a long time, and they could be dangerous. The Belmonts of the world. Belmont is a team that
huge game against Duke,
nearly
right?
knocked off Duke and Memphis right away. In the first couple games, and they're scoring 80 points a game. Top 5 in the country. I don't know if they can guard anybody to save their lives, but if they can put up 75 points, they could beat someone. Obviously,
okay.
So that's another squad I think to watch out for.
Okay, great. So now we want to talk a little about some bubble teams, which is always the best time of March Madness. Is to talk about those teams that you think might get in or might not get in. Last night we had Northwestern play a really amazing game against Ohio State. Do you think Northwestern, for all the Northwestern, we have some listeners in Chicago, do you think Northwestern's in right now?
No. I don't think they're in. I think they were, a few seconds away from being in last night against Ohio State. But I still think this is a team that has a shot to get a signature win in the Big Ten tournament that will push them over the top. I mean, I think more so than any year, over the last 5 years maybe, the cliche of you have to send somebody holds so true for this year. And I think there are a lot of bubble teams that in the next couple of days, the next week, once the conference tournaments pick up, are sort of one win away from getting into that field of 68. And I think Northwestern, if they can get a signature win, again, they can't beat Minnesota and get in, but if they get Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, if they draw one of those teams and they find a way to pull off the upset, I think certainly Northwestern might be dancing for the first time. But give them credit. You know, they gave it everything last night.
Great team.
And they nearly knocked off a very talented Buckeyes team.
Okay, now shifting to the Big East and bubble team. I was looking over the stats a little bit ago, and something that really hit me. I was shocked. Is University of Southern Florida is 12-5 in the Big East, and yet they're still only considered a bubble team. What are your thoughts on this team? Do you think they're in the tournament? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to keep saying that you have to send someone to the NCAA tournament. I mean, this is that year, especially with the Pac-12 down, the SEC down.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at South Florida's record, that win over Louisville last night was really the only signature win that they've had in Big East play. They've sort of beaten the B teams in the Big East, and that's how they ended up 12-5. So, I see why they've been a bubble team, but the Louisville win probably pushed them over the top. No major non-conference victories for this team, but although the selection committee doesn't look at conference RPI anymore, your strength of schedule gets such a major boost when you play in a conference like the Big East. It might be a 10-bid league. So when you're going up against, UConn and Syracuse and Louisville, even if you're not beating those teams, it's still helping your strength of schedule. I think South Florida has really been a beneficiary of playing in the Big East and really not beating the best teams in that league, but just kind of hanging around, and that might be enough for a bid.
And you mentioned UConn. They're sitting at 7-10. Their coach Calhoun is undergoing back surgery. There's so much talent. You look at this team. They just Boatwright, Drummond, Lamb, Napier. They have so much talent. What do you think they're in right now? Do you think they can make it if they have a little run in the Big East tournament? What are your thoughts on UConn hoops, the defending national champions?
Well, they're the biggest disappointments of the year. I don't think it's close at this point. They haven't had any leadership in the locker room. It's been a big issue. Here's the thing. A lot of people look at a Kimball Walker, and you go, man, they can replace that talent. They got Jeremy Lamb coming back. They got Alex Ariaki. They got Andre Drummond, the guy who might be the number one pick in this summer's NBA draft. The talent is there. They're going to defend their national championship. They're going to make a run. They will be in the mix at the end of the year. What a lot of people fail to recognize with a team like that is when you lose a leader like that. And Ohio State has felt it as well, losing some talented seniors from last year's team. When you lose a guy who is that kind of a leader, it's often impossible to replace that guy right away if you don't have those upperclassmen who are kind of coming in to fill that void. UConn didn't have that upperclassman to fill that void, and they suffered as a result. They've had a lot of locker room issues, chemistry issues, guys calling each other out after games, finger pointing. So you can have all the talent in the world, which UConn has proven, but if you don't have that chemistry, you're done. And that's been the Huskies' biggest problem. Could they make a run in the Big East tournament? Sure. I mean, think about all the teams that they might face in the Big East tournament,
right?
And the opportunities to record signature victories. You're playing possibly 10 NCAA tournament teams in that conference tournament. I mean, that's the field. So, of course, you're going to have an opportunity to boost your resume. Can they make a run? Sure. Will they? I doubt it. I just don't see this team with this lack of leadership making that run, getting into the NCAA tournament. I certainly see a situation most likely where they lose early. But, again, you have to send someone. The Big East, is a league that could get 9 or 10 bids, so we'll see with that UConn team. But certainly a disappointment thus far.
All right, so we're on with Myron Medikoff from ESPN College Basketball, who's a writer there. We just have a couple questions left for you. We just actually had Josh Passer on right before you, the coach of University of Memphis. They started off in the top 10 in the polls. They had a ton of talent, had the number 2 recruiting class last year, a lot of good guys. They all stayed. None of them went to the NBA, I believe. And, they started off with a couple early season losses, but they've played very well lately. I think they're 12-3 or 13-2 in the conference. The regular season champs in Conference USA. We got to talk about Coach Passer and Memphis. He was just on the show. So tell us, what do you think about the Tigers this year and their chances in the NCAA team? We think at Israel Sports Radio they could be a potentially very dangerous team.
Well, for me, they're in that UConn category, that Florida category where, it's not a question of talent. It's a question of chemistry and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And will they be able to have the mental fortitude that's necessary to make a run in the NCAA tournament? And I think Memphis proved, at least in the non-conference season, that was something that they lacked. But, they have played well in Conference USA, and certainly I think they've evolved since some of those rough stretches in the non-conference season. So, talent-wise, Will Barton, I think, pound for pound, is one of the best players in America.
Right.
A lot of people don't know about him, but, the question is, can it all come together mentally? It's never talent with a team like that. It's just who's going to be the leader, and can you get into a situation where you get into a rhythm, you can bring the momentum that you've established in Conference USA into the NCAA tournament. So that's the major question mark with the Tigers. But if it's about talent alone, certainly they'll be in there with any team that they face just because they're so long and athletic, and that's always a great starting point for any team in the NCAA tournament.
As you just mentioned really, really quickly, Florida also having a really disappointing year. They fell to Vanderbilt last night. They lost to Georgia earlier, so they're also one of those teams that was expected to be in the top 10. They're kind of dropping towards NCAA tournament time. Okay, so just two more questions. This is one question with two parts. We have the two big games this weekend. We have Duke against North Carolina, and we have Michigan State against Ohio State. So in the Duke UNC game, we all know what happened. Rivers hit that amazing three-point shot at the buzzer. Cody Zeller. Not Cody Zeller. Tyler Zeller was guarding him. What are you expecting from this North Carolina team? That has a couple of veterans on the team. Do you think they're going to go into Cameron Indoor and say, you came into our home and kind of embarrassed us at the last couple minutes of the game. We're going to do the same thing in Cameron. Do you think that North Carolina is going to pull off the win?
Oh, you're making me pick.
I'm making you pick.
I'll go with Duke.
Ooh, okay.
I like North Carolina, and I think they've obviously built up some momentum since that Duke loss, and it was on a buzzer beater. But I think, if anything, that loss proved what we thought this North Carolina squad would avoid, and that sometimes they crumble. And when you have the talent that they have, it's amazing that they haven't been a more dominant team. But again, they built momentum at the right time. I think it'll be another classic game. We had Missouri-Kansas last weekend, and this will be a game like that. I just think this Duke team is so feisty, and they're playing with such a chip on their shoulder for the first time, I think, in a while for this Duke team. But obviously with Duke, there are always so many expectations, and this is a team where this squad has had so many doubters. Austin Rivers had those early struggles. The Plumlee brothers aren't tough enough. I mean, all these criticisms that these guys have faced, and yet they're coming on at the right time. I don't think they're going to lose at home to North Carolina, but I expect a classic game.
Okay, and I got to give credit to my Hoosiers. Because of my Hoosiers' win against Michigan State, this game on Sunday is very significant. If Michigan State wins this game, they win the title outright. But because of my Indiana Hoosiers, who won by 15 points, I might say, because of that, there's a huge showdown this Sunday in, I believe, is it Columbus or is it in East Lansing?
It's in East Lansing.
It's in
the
East
first
Lansing.
game was in Columbus.
Okay, so again, we're gonna make you pick. Sullinger just had a monster game, 22 points, 18 rebounds. Draymond Green is favored, maybe even to be Big Ten Player of the Year over Sullinger for different reasons, obviously. But big game pretty much for the conference regular season championship. Who you got?
Michigan State won't lose in East Lansing. I mean, they had a very lukewarm performance against Indiana. I mean, Draymond Green obviously looked the Big Ten Player of the Year in that game. Looked like it, 29 points, but it was like everybody else kind of took the night off. And I'm sure in the gap between that loss to Indiana and the game we see on Sunday, and what Tom Izzo is going to put those guys through in the days between, I think the Spartans will be ready to play. But it's also interesting that Ohio State really came on strong. Jared Sullinger scored, 17 points in the two games before last night's outburst, and you wonder what he's going to bring. Obviously, here's a guy who I think when he's challenged, when he's doubted, that's when he shows up. So I think you're going to have a real war between Draymond Green and Jared Sullinger, but I just can't pick anybody over Michigan State and East Lansing right now. I think they're going to find a way to show up and win the Big Ten title outright.
Okay, so we're putting on record that you have Duke and you have Michigan State for this weekend's game.
Put it on record.
On record. Yep. On Israel Sports. Everyone in Israel is going to know now.
The world knows it now, right?
ESPN. You represent ESPN in our little country in the Middle East. Okay, so
well, not everyone at ESPN was. I'm sure I got a lot of my colleagues would say I'm nuts, but that's just my personal pick.
we love nuts in Israel. That's Israel. Okay, so I got to ask you about this because I read about this, and it's, I've been a UCLA fan for a while, and I'm sure I'm about to ask all these allegations about Ben Howland and the program in UCLA, and I told you I was an Indiana guy, so I lived close to Martinsville, where John Wooden's from. What is going on in UCLA, and is Ben Howland on the way out despite having a couple Final Fours under his belt? What do you think's going on in the locker room? And tell us what's going on.
Well, if that SI article, is true, and it sounds like, they had a lot of obviously legitimate sources, then no way Ben Howland survives this. What happens in a situation like this is everybody kind of backs off and says all the right things, we've got to assess the situation. But that article was devastating. I mean, those are the kind of allegations that ruin programs.
Right.
All these things were happening. Guys were taking drugs, and guys weren't listening to Bill Howland, and he was sort of letting certain guys avoid authority, avoid certain discipline. Then certainly that's going to be on his shoulders. I mean, it read almost like a reality TV show on MTV or something, right?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you read it and you're like,
wow,
is this the
shocking.
Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
Or is this UCLA basketball? Like,
Exactly.
it's amazing the stuff that you hear about. And, you knew some of those guys may have been characters, but it almost sounded like this was a culture in this program. And again, there are guys, you get some bad apples, so to speak, with most programs. But coaches try to eliminate those guys. You dismiss those guys. You make sure that those guys understand that, hey, a few more strikes and you're done. But when you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 guys who are doing this, now that's a culture, and that's a major problem. I think UCLA, being in Los Angeles, being in this media haven, with all of these problems that Ben Howland has had this year, and now this, absolutely not. Somebody else is going to come in, I would think, because they're going to say, we've got to clean up this culture. We've got to change what's happening in this program, and that will be necessary, I think, for UCLA.
Okay, last question. Gotta ask you about this. What do you think the future holds for your Minnesota Gophers? They're obviously having kind of a rough year. They lost their star player to an ACL injury at the start of the year. Just last question to let you go. What do you think of your Gophers in the future?
Well, let me clarify. They're not my Gophers. I didn't go to the University of Minnesota. I went to actually Minnesota State University Mankato, and I'm actually a Wisconsin kid. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I covered the Gophers though for 4 years, and to me, the NIT, obviously with this team, I don't expect them to make a run in the Big Ten tournament.
Okay.
Losing Trevor Mbakwe early hurts, but they had a lot of time to recover. And 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, they were in the running, I think, for an NCAA tournament spot. And they had Michigan State on the ropes, and they just collapsed in the final minutes.
Right.
So here's a team that had a chance with Michigan State, Indiana, and Wisconsin in their last 2 weeks. They had multiple opportunities to record signature victories and boost their at-large resumes, and they just couldn't pull off. I mean, they held Wisconsin to 16 first-half points, and yet they couldn't beat the Badgers in that situation. And obviously Michigan State was down by double digits, and they just couldn't close the show. So I think the struggles might continue in the Big Ten tournament. They get into the NIT, and I think it would be maybe sort of an accomplishment for this team if they find a way to win a game in the NIT, because they haven't won a postseason game under Tuppy Smith, not even in the NIT.
All right, great stuff. We certainly appreciate the time. We know you're busy out there in Bristol, but we will be sending you that shirt hopefully next week. I'll talk to my store guy about that blue T-shirt out to you, so you can tell everyone you were on in Israel. Myron, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, and all the best with you in your career at ESPN.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, be well, Myron. All right, wow, what a great show. We're at the end. We're a little past time here, but just a fantastic show. We had some great guests, and by the way, now I want to give a quick programming announcement here. We will not be playing, if you're listening to this on Monday, you'll be even more confused, but we're not going to be playing the IFL game between the Rebels and Lions. We're going to play a classic game between the Kings and the Lions last year, but that's coming up right after this program. But before we end the program, huge thank you to Raphael Geller for setting up all these interviews.
It's good stuff. Very fun.
I know you had a whole college basketball thing that we ran out of time. Hopefully, can you use it next week?
I can use it next week.
Okay, because I want to hear it. You put a lot of time into it. But we had 3 guests that went basically about 30 minutes apiece, but it was well worth it. So that'll be our show tonight. Our thanks to our guest, Svichworski from Slam Magazine, he thinks LeBron's had one of the best seasons since Michael Jordan. He thinks he should win the MVP. He doesn't have a question about that, and thinks the Heat will win the title. At this point, he's the favorites to win. Then we had Coach Josh Pastner, coach of the University of Memphis team and former assistant at the U of A when they won the title in '97, and of course ESPN senior college basketball writer Myron Metcalf. Stay tuned next week as we'll have Jim Williams and much, much more. That's next week. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.